taking climate action is an absolute necessity for the government, but I would contend also for the country. So therefore we have to get this right. We have to have plans that can be delivered, that can command public support and agreement, and I'm keen to make sure that we build that agreement in Parliament.
Okay, so some people would be surprised that I probably agree with most of what the First Minister's just said, and I accept the position that the government took a line and was pushed further. But it all happened because there was so little time for this to be properly considered. Now, we're in the same position in my mind again, First Minister, that we have got your Cabinet Secretary is aiming, her word, not mine, to produce a climate change plan in late October, early November. There'll then be 12 weeks of public consultation, which will take us up, by my maths, to roughly the end of January. Civil servants will then have to go through all the responses, which will probably take a month, and produce them. Committees at this stage will have to be working, all committees across the Parliament, on the issues in the climate change plan, which means that we'll be well into March before we consider the final climate change plan and debate it in the Parliament. For me, that's too late. Do you share my frustration that there are delays? And would you undertake now to move this process forward as fast as possible to make sure all the deadlines are met so that this Parliament can truly consider the climate change plans without playing politics in the last few days of the session before the Parliament is dissolved?
With the greatest respect, that last bit is out with my control because it requires on the conduct of others. But I think what I would say to Mr Mountain is that I acknowledge the importance of the points that he makes to me and the importance of sticking to a timetable which will be able to deliver due scrutiny of the climate change plan before dissolution, which is the government's commitment to complete the process before dissolution. And I think there is adequate time for scrutiny, but it requires those deadlines to be met. So I do accept that there's a connection between different steps in the process. Now, if my recollection is correct, there are essentially timetables that relate to when the order for the interim targets is agreed by Parliament, if that is agreed, to then the lodging of a plan, which has then got to substantiate that, and then the various consultative processes that Mr Mountain has set out. So in a sense, those factors or those elements follow one from the other. But I give the assurance that the government is working to the timetable that's been shared with the committee.
Okay, and thank you for that. I mean, I think what's important is the committee has produced their report. I think it was published yesterday on the carbon budgets. So I'm hoping it will be discussed by the Parliament prior to recess, which should ensure there's no impediment for the Cabinet Secretary to lay the plan within the timescale.
In my understanding of the timetable, I think I take the same view.
Okay. So my question is, First Minister, is that when the climate change plan is laid, there will be a lot of work that needs to go on behind the scenes by committees to ensure that the draft climate change plan delivers. So will the government, under your guidance, assist committees by producing information as and when it can and not doing it all right up at the last moment, so that committees can respond and be fleet of foot to the current thinking as it comes out during the period November to January?
I certainly commit to engage constructively with committees on that question on the government's behalf. That is the direction I give to government at all times. Members of the government know that their engagement and the requirements of parliamentary committees and process of chamber business take absolute priority in their planning of their time commitments and their engagement. So that is a critical part of our democratic engagement with Parliament.